is this actually going? Is this live now? Let's see. There we go. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and turn this guy on. Going live. I'll start chatting with everyone.
Sweet.
As they're coming on. All right. It'll take a second for everyone to kind of get funneled in here. And that's good, actually, because as we're looking up, we can look at the other camera, too.
Yeah.
I forgot to change this description. 1 second, actually. Let me do this live right here. This one. Oh, shit. Did it not work? What the fuck? There we go. All right.
Do you need to plug your phone in at all, or is it good?
Oh, good point. Should be fine for an hour.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Either way, we have 2 different angles here. Let's wait to start filtering in. Hey, what's up? We're going to be doing a spiritual branding interview.
Spiritual branding.
Yes. Yo, good to see you, Cole. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, we're just getting started. There's some some technical stuff that looks like could be refined a little bit more, but we don't want to go too late. So
I might just wait here.
I'm gonna see if I can pop on my phone. I can see the chat a little bit closer here.
Oh, you could, yeah. So we'll begin. Oh, Christ, amazing! My results and info are great, but my marketing is ass. Totally new to it. Perfect. Yeah, dude, this is the.
You're in the right place. I got you.
Yeah. No, Michael is literally the branding expert, and so we'll be chatting quite a bit about.
That guy's right here.
Yeah,
So I can-
perfect. Okay, so he's on the live now as well. We're going hard at a bunch too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just sit here while I'm talking. I'll just heart it constantly.
Whoa! Look at all those hearts.
This is actually my very first time on TikTok live. I've never been live on TikTok before, so this is
Really?
yeah.
Oh.
This is fun. This is exciting. This is a big moment.
We love that. Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
And we will. We have a really exciting docket of questions that we're going to be asking Michael here. But first off, just a quick intro, and then I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Michael is a very seasoned entrepreneur. He has founded and launched a ton of companies, which I'll let him dive into a little bit more. But more recently, personalbrand.com, which is this guy right here. So personalbrand.com focused all around branding for entrepreneurs, helping them actually craft a compelling message and present themselves well, which I've seen in the spiritual community being like a very, very rough thing. Oftentimes, a lot of our languaging is very abstract and people don't really know what we're talking about. And so we are, that's a big reason why we're doing this interview. So that way, hopefully we can get some much, much better branding down pat. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say to introduce yourself there?
Yeah, so I mean, just a little bit about my background. I got started in entrepreneurship at 17, and I'm almost 2 decades in as an entrepreneur with all of the scars and badges of honor and whatever that you can get as an entrepreneur. So I've just been really fortunate to be in the game for a long period of time. See a lot of people have massive success, have successes of my own, failures of my own. And yeah, just have a lot of insights and perspectives that people have found helpful. And so, you know, today run personalbrand.com and Spiffy Checkouts, which is a software company that runs payments for a lot of the big names, authors, speakers, coaches, thought leaders, personal brands. And, you know, 1, 2 decades of experience, but then 2, having access to data and insights and perspectives of what's working, what's not working, you know, gives some pretty unique insights and knowledge and just experience and relationships that, I don't know, just have like a very unique perspective and that's not just backed by opinion or theory, but you know, hands in the trenches, doing the work myself, helping other people get results, and then also seeing a large data set of other people, that are driving results through coaching, through speaking, through holding retreats, holding live events, which are a lot of ways that you can monetize as a spiritual leader, spiritual practitioner, spiritual healer.
Perfect. Okay, so first off, also, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll be addressing them as well. So I'm curious, who are some of the bigger kind of coaches or healer type people that you've worked with at the moment? Maybe they might know some.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest names that I've worked with back in my growth agency days, it was Brendon Burchard's CMO. So
Wow.
he's, he's not squarely in the spiritual space, but I would say he's definitely a spiritually influenced influencer, I guess you could say, or thought leader, where he definitely speaks to it in some way, shape, or form. The most notable spiritual influencer on Spiffy Checkouts is Jay Shetty. So
Really?
yeah, Jay Shetty's
Wow.
coaching certification runs through Spiffy Checkouts. Biddy Tarot is a tarot reading card company that runs all through Spiffy Checkouts. So yeah, shout out to Biddy Tarot, shout out to Jay Shetty, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of others that I'm probably not even aware of. But yeah, I can't even remember all the names of them, but almost on a monthly basis, there's some type of retreat company that they're hosting spiritual retreats in Mexico, or I've just been able to see a lot of different offers come through Spiffy, and just finger on the pulse of what a lot of people are up to.
Huh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so as you can see, this is why we are interviewing Michael. Okay, let's go ahead and start diving into it a little bit. So I had sent him over a list of questions that I'm going to be reading off of right now. First question here. Spiritual entrepreneurs often deal with the intangible, so things like transformation, energy, peace. What is your specific framework for translating a feeling or a vibe into more of a concrete brand asset that a more logical buyer would understand?
Yeah, I think that inherently this is something difficult for all types of businesses. I know this to be true. And it just is more exacerbated in personal development in any way, shape, or form. And so that's where, especially my work with Brendon Burchard, he's one of the biggest names in personal development. Personal development is inherently intangible, which makes it very difficult, which means that we have to use language that makes it as tangible as possible. And so much of what I believe why this is such a big pain point in the spiritual community is because oftentimes we're really close to the impact that we want to have in the world, and we want to communicate so that people understand the modality that we've been trained in, the spiritual gifts that people might have, and so we're trying to explain so that we're understood. Where marketing and business is 100% about communicating so that your potential client feels understood. And so whether you're selling spirituality, whether you're selling something that's a lot more logical as far as a business course, marketing is ineffective when you try to explain the what or the how. And oftentimes people don't care how a result is generated or what steps you're actually taking to generate the result. They just want to know that, hey, you understand the problem, the pain point that I'm experiencing, whether it's actual physical pain, emotional pain, or just a frustration or a challenge that you're experiencing that might be outside yourself. They just want to know that you understand that pain as good, if not better, than I even understand it. And they want to know that you understand what I actually want, and you can explain it better than I can explain it. And so, actually, I kind of jumped ahead there. When you can explain someone's pain point better than they can explain it, when you can explain what they want better than they can explain it, or to the point where it's almost like, were you just listening to my meditation yesterday or my prayers last night? Were you did you wiretap my conversation with my wife last night? The more that you can generate those types of experiences where you can explain the pain point better and you can explain what they want better, they automatically assume you have the solution, and the solution does not need to be explained. And so this is very, very true when it comes to spiritual processes, modalities, experiences. it's almost impossible to explain the how or the what. And so the more that you can avoid trying to explain specifically what you do or the modality or the specifics about the process and just explain the current state and the desired outcome and talk about those two things, that's where all the results get generated.
Absolutely fascinating. That's awesome. Yeah, guys, go ahead and let us know, like, what are you thinking of this so far in the chat as well. So, follow-up question on that. So, understanding their problem as good, if not better than they do, will allow them to actually feel understood and want to buy, is what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. So try to communicate not so that someone that you're talking to understands what you do. You want to communicate in a way where you're using sensory-rich language that makes that person feel like you understand them better than anyone in their life understands them. So, for example, and I'm kind of riffing here, I don't have a great example in the spirituality space, but let's just say you help someone overcome stress and anxiety. Someone comes up and asks you, like, what do you do? You can say, well, hey, like, you know how oftentimes in day-to-day life, the stressors of the life outside of ourselves start to impact how we feel on the inside. We feel stressed and overwhelmed. We're kind of short with our partner or spouse or our friends. Sometimes there's a natural tendency to like even get invites from your friends to go out and you say no because you're just way overstimulated and you're way overwhelmed with the work week. And you know that you actually need to socialize, but you don't want to. And you start talking about these scenarios. It's like, oh, well, I actually help people overcome that so that by the end of their week, they actually feel more alive, more motivated. They actually are going out of their way to organize things with friends, not just waiting for invites. And they can actually have a lot more energy to be present with their kids or present with their partner or their spouse or husband or wife. And ultimately, all I'm doing is talking about the pain point and what they actually want. And and they're like, okay, well, how do you do that? Like, well, I have a retreat that I run 3 times a year, or I have a coaching program. Like, okay, well, like, what do you do in the coaching program? Well, I have a coaching program where we walk through step by step in a one-on-one container to get those results. And it looks a little bit different for every person, but I have a predictable and repeatable process that I get with every single client. Here's some testimonials, and you let your customers do the marketing of just putting the stamp of approval that you can get the result that you say that you can get. So much of it is just not even engaging in the exact step by step, which is the natural tendency. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Fascinating. We had a couple questions here that popped up in the chat, so let's go ahead and see really quick what Cole said. I saw something.
Not that high.
Right. Yeah, right.
But there's ways to do it.
So it makes sense. It's hard to place explaining emotional shifts where someone stops having a block, but there's ways to do it. That's what my thing has been. So getting caught up in explaining like the emotional shift, like, oh, you're going to have this shift.
Yeah, I would say that So again, like the emotional shift is kind of the how. That's kind of like what happens. And so oftentimes there might be, we call these conversation maps. Sometimes us as practitioners, we almost come at conversations as if we're like the doctor. Where like we can come in and in a very short conversation, we can assess exactly what's going on and we can hear all of their symptoms and deductively reason this is the core problem and we jump to right to solving the core problem. And so if there's like an emotional release that needs to happen, the person might not be ready to hear that. Or you can tell that to them and they can logically hear the words that you're saying, but it's too much of a logical jump because they feel like there's these 5 problems that they need to solve. They're all independent problems, and it can't be as simple as just an emotional release or having in one session when like we know that is actually the case, is that like in a very short period of time, healing can happen. It's not a linear process. Healing can happen in a moment. And so again, I think that the natural progression is guiding people through a conversation where we can guide them to understand what the core problem is, and people can be a lot more receptive to hearing it.
I like that a lot. So you really do have to start exactly where they are. You can't just be jumping all the way to you're gonna have a release, and they're like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to release, you know,
Yeah,
like
literally.
emotional release. Yeah, so yeah, it sounds scary. It's like, what is that? Especially people where the emotional release is the gateway to their healing. They've been avoiding feeling for a long time, and so even though you explain it or you have some sort of offer that helps people navigate that, it's not what they want because they've been hiding from that feeling or hiding from feeling those feelings for a very long period of time. And so one question is, how can you create an approachable offer that gives people a taste of it without jumping into the deep end? Or solving one of their symptoms in a way where they get a quick win and it builds trust and it builds authority and builds the credibility so that they're even receptive to hearing that there's a way to go deeper.
I like that. Okay, interesting. So we're going to be diving, and it looks like we have a couple more questions here, but we're going to be diving into some high-ticket stuff here in a little bit, so stay around, guys. There is a question, though, that I have around kind of like a business owner. So let's say you are a burnout expert, and you realize that like, oh, okay, like emotional or somatic release can really help entrepreneurs. I see them that they would benefit from all this kind of stuff. How would you kind of frame that in the way that you were just chatting or just explaining to us?
Say the question again.
So let's say you are a like somatic coach
Yeah.
or like an energetic coach. You want to target business people because they will pay you better generally, and entrepreneurs more specifically.
Yep.
You realize that a lot of the entrepreneurs that you talk with are really burnt out. But when you talk about burnout with them, it just kind of goes over their head. And they're like, well, I don't experience burnout as they're burning out, right?
Yeah.
So how would you frame it in a way that makes sense to them?
So is it possible to sell someone a solution when they don't even know they have a problem, or if they have a problem and they're aware of it, but they're not actively seeking a solution to it? And so this is where, in business in general, the businesses I'm in aren't overtly spiritual by nature, but I think business is the most spiritual thing that you can do, aside from having children and getting married and that form of creation. But business is like really your vision that you get to create in this world. And regardless of what type of business that you're in, it's inherently challenging and frustrating knowing that you have a product or service that can help someone, and you're even talking to the exact person that you know that you can help, that you designed your entire offering for, but they just don't see it. They just don't get it. Or they get it and see it, but they're not willing to pay for it. And so much of it is most businesses, this isn't just spiritual entrepreneurs, but I think it's more the case with spiritual entrepreneurs is we're just not talking to enough people. We're not getting our offer in front of enough people. The number one reason why people make money, whether it's an online business or an offline business, is that they're getting their offer in front of people. And so when we're talking about like a somatic release, somatic practitioner, and you're talking with someone that's burnt out, you know that you can help them. There's two trains of thought. One, you can find a way to kind of jujitsu your way into a business container where you can provide a unique experience that allows them to experience something that they otherwise wouldn't have pursued on their own or a la carte on its own. Or the other half of that spectrum is ultimately it's timing, and you have to help guide people. Kind of going back to what I was just saying before about like the conversation maps. How, even though you solve the core problem, how can you provide some type of solution, whether it's something as simple as a lead magnet or some introductory course that meets them where they're at their level of awareness and gets them a quick win on a symptom that you know isn't really the thing that's going to move the needle, but at least just opens up the relationship to guide them to understanding the core problem. So an example I always use of this is like someone who has lower back pain. and they've tried everything that they can think of to fix their lower back. They're using lumbar supports or stretching at night. They're, all these different things. They think they need surgery. And if I just come up to that person and says, specifically they're stretching their back. They're trying to they're foam rolling their back. They're doing all these things to their back. And if I come up to that person and say, hey man, I have this really cool stretch for your hamstrings and this hamstring specific foam roller, you should really try that. The natural tendency is dude, my hamstrings don't hurt. My back hurts. What the heck are you talking about? But your hamstrings, especially in our sedentary life, when we're sitting in a chair all day long, tight hamstrings actually is directly correlated to lower back pain. But most people, it's too much of a logical jump for them to understand that. So first, in that scenario, using that as an example, I would need to create something that helped them address their lower back pain, that also guided them to understand how the human body works, and especially if there's, work an office job, it's most likely the tightness in the back of their legs that is actually throwing off the imbalance, and the pain is the human body's natural response to overcompensate for a problem that's actually occurring somewhere else. So you just need to have the opportunity to meet someone where they're at and then guide them to actually understand that there's an easy button. It's you don't need to solve all these individual problems of not having enough time for your kids, not feeling drained at work, all these different things. They're not individual problems. There's actually one problem that can solve, and you can come to my retreat and we can figure it out. But it's almost unbelievable, because the separate symptoms, the separate problems they have are so big, so visceral in their real life, that it can't be that easy, because they've been battling these problems for so long, and if it was that easy, they would have figured it out by now. We know that's not true, but they don't know that that's true, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, and let's go check the comments really quick too. It's curious because in that case, there's a little bit of the humanness of us that's well, if it was that easy, I would have figured it out by now. And it's well, I mean, not always, right? That's why we help each other. But fascinating. So, in essence, just kind of tie a bow on this one specific topic, they do have to be problem aware to some extent. You can't just jujitsu your way in. You see it, but they don't.
Right.
So you can't just necessarily be well, you have this problem, and then I'm going to solve this problem if they're not even aware of it.
Right.
You have to solve exactly what they're aware of currently.
Yep.
And then guide them.
Yeah. And I have I call it the grade 8. It's the 8 levels of validation, and we teach it at BBB. And the first 4 steps of those 8 have to happen in order. 1, you have to solve a real problem in the marketplace. Not all problems are created equal. So there's different types of problems. One type of problem is a commodity where there's low complexity, but there's high competition. And so that's a different type of problem that as a business owner, you need to have the right skill sets to run a business where your product or service is in that commodity bucket. Something I don't know, I would say like a yoga studio is kind of in that commodity bucket, right? Where it's a volume play. No one, there's yoga studios roughly every square mile these days, give or take. And so, but something in the opportunity zone would be something that goes quite a bit deeper, and it's a higher price point, and you get substantial results at a retreat in a very short period of time. The complexity is higher, but the value is higher. And so those are the types of things those are the types of problems I like to solve, are things where someone can't just replicate what I'm doing overnight. So first of the 4 steps is solve a real problem. Not all problems are equal. There's different ways to address problems. The second one, so solve a real problem in the marketplace. The customer needs to be aware they have a problem, number 2. Number 3, they need to be actively seeking a solution. And number 4, they need to be willing to pay for that solution. And so having someone that has lower back pain and maybe it just kind of bothers me once a week. I'm looking for a solution, but I'm just kind of looking for information. I'm not ready to buy yet. The pain's not bad enough, it's not urgent enough, it's not frequent enough, it's not pervasive enough. And so that's the most important thing, is that you can have a product or service that's solving a real problem. People know they need it, they're seeking the solution, but if they're not willing to pay for it, you can't build a business. And so that's really what marketing comes in, where marketing comes into play, is to like help people understand, hey, this meditation thing, hey, these retreats, these aren't just woo-woo experiences. I've crafted this as a intentional container to get this specific result. And if you're feeling this way, if you're stressed out, if you're overwhelmed, if you feel like you're not bringing your best self to work, and you're not bringing your best self to your family and to your friends, and yada yada yada, well, come to my retreat. It's 3 days. We get this, and this result. And if you don't get that result in 3 days, then you don't pay. And like that's a very compelling offer. You're describing the pain point that you help solve. You're describing the outcome that you help get. And obviously, I was touching on it very briefly here. You would put a lot more language to both of those things. But that's the overall marketing messaging of making sure that you're communicating so that the person feels understood, you understand what they want, you create a container that creates that transformation, and you're so confident that you can get that result time and time and time again that you put a guarantee on it, and that's what creates an irresistible offer.
I like that. Wonderful. That's awesome.
Sweet.
Let's take a little peek at our comments here and see what's boiling in the chat a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, Empress Cole, welcome. And everyone else that looks like they're a part of the fan club here, welcome. It's good to have you guys. We're doing our interview here with Michael, and we're discussing branding for spiritual businesses. So we got some really good stuff so far.
Yeah.
Anything
Cole mentions, he says, you have trouble articulating your specific skill sets, gets in the way of me communicating it. One, it's important to build the skill set. And in the early innings, especially when you're trying to land your first couple of clients, that's the hardest part. All of us want to move to a place where our customers start to do the marketing for us. So kind of going back to what I was describing before, yes, it's important to have skill sets. Yes, certifications are important. It's good to go through training and be able to articulate those things if people ask. Most people don't really care about your skill set. They care that your skill set can get them a result. And so if people are asking you about your skill set, is probably coming from their level of uncertainty that you can get them a result. And so obviously in the very beginning innings when you're taking on your first clients, that's the biggest hurdle to get across. And I'm a huge advocate of working with a handful of clients for free or at a very low discount. However, you position it as if it's a full price service. Say, hey, I've architected this 4-week program. It's $1,000. It's $5,000, and for exchange of for a testimonial, I'll comp my services, or I'll do it at 90% off or something, right? There has to be a value exchange so that the person is engaged, they understand that there's something of value being delivered, and if they don't take you up on this offer, it's going to be a lot more to work with you in the future. So there's a right way and a wrong way. You don't just go around, saying, hey, I'm going to, hold space for you for free because you're my friend and this and that and the other. Like there needs to be a little bit of a conversation or at least a frame around the value of what you're creating. So again, just going back to having trouble articulating your specific skill set, you as quickly as possible, you want to get out of having to you want to get out of having to articulate your value and letting successful people who have worked with you do that communication for you, because that's really what people are asking. Is like it's asking out of, hey, are you sure that you can get me this result? And when you have a dozen people that said, hey, Cole got me this result, they don't ask those questions anymore.
That is brilliant. That dude, guys, this is like very good. And I really like the point too, because I feel like especially in the spiritual community, this can be a little bit of a painful thing to hear. But the fact of people don't really care too much about exactly what you do. They care about the results you get them. And so I love that clarity a lot. It's like, hey, I hear that you fixed the lower back pain. Like, fix my lower back pain, dude. Like, I don't care what I don't care what you do. Like, just
Totally.
give me the result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't care if you're having me do, random yoga poses, you're having me breathe different. Like my back hurts. I'm ready to get it solved. You're the guy. I'm paying for it. But if all of a sudden you start to communicate all of the things that you're having me do, I'm like, whoa, like, okay, like I don't know if I want to do all that. But at the end of the day, when people truly want the result, they're ready to pay for it. Like they're willing to. And if you craft your services in a way where you're able to get that result with the least amount of effort, then everything's architected in a way where you're getting them the result in less time with less effort than they thought possible. And the how really doesn't matter at that point. Because any other how that they are aware of would take way longer and way more effort. So if your services are architected correctly, the how is actually irrelevant because it's way faster and way easier than they think it's possible. Does that make sense?
That does.
Yeah.
Wow, that's genius. Okay, so let's see really quick.
Deep
Let's
breaths.
see what everyone's saying. Deep breaths, everyone. All right, drop some comments or some likes in the chat. We'd love to see how you guys are enjoying this so far. But we'll do a little read through here.
Yeah, cool. So he said he's got some testimonials. It's just not process specific so much as my effectiveness. So yes, this is the biggest unlock for practitioners. I struggled with this when I first started my marketing company, and I would do way more to help someone else than I will like for personal gain. Like that's just how I'm built. It was so awkward starting to charge people to like sit across the table from them over coffee and give them marketing strategy or have a marketing conversation. It's like I charge money for like $50 an hour back then to have coffee with them and like just jam on their business. Like what? Like these are the conversations that I love to have. Like how am I charging money for this? And same thing in the spiritual community. Like we would have these types of spiritual conversations all day and all night. We do it for free all of the time. And so the more that you can take your passion, your expertise, your skill set, and take it from just knowledge or take it from just a skill set that you are passionate about rendering and create a process, create a methodology, create a step-by-step process. A step-by-step process or a methodology is a system. And then you start to sell the system and the results the system creates, not your personal time. Because if you're anything like me and Jacob, like we would help people, we would take the shirts off of our back for people, right?
Yeah.
And so that step alone of what Cole's talking about here, where you have the testimonials because you're getting people results and you're able to, while you're working with someone live, you're able to kind of adjust, adapt, pull levers to get them a result. In the beginning, that's exactly what you need to be doing so you can start to see those repeatable steps that repeatedly and predictably get the end result. Once you know those 4, 5, 6, 7 steps or 6 different components, maybe they don't all happen in the same exact order each and every time, that's when you need to start to create a modality, a methodology, a model that really codifies how you do what you do, and you are no longer selling yourself, no longer selling your time, no longer selling your skill or your expertise, but you're selling a system. In the beginning, you with your skill set, you're the one that's executing the system, but especially if you want to build a business and create time freedom and money freedom, you have to create some type of process that eventually you can remove yourself from. And that's the first step. The first step is you yourself getting results for clients no matter what it takes. Time and time again, you recognize the patterns, you create a method or a methodology or a model or a framework that you use to prove that that model or that methodology works. And then over time, you can hire people to fill the different roles to render that service that eventually is no longer you. Or if this is a pure mission, passion, purpose play for you, and you know that you just want to do this work and for the rest of your life, then the latter part of what I just said is irrelevant, and you just know that this is the predictable and repeatable process to get the result, and you're no longer selling yourself, you're selling the process.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We've got a couple more comments here in the chat, but I would like to ask a little bit of a follow-up. Well, let's actually see what they're saying first before we ask this follow-up question.
So where's the best place to connect Possible 101, high net worth clients other than social media? Live events, live events, live events.
Yes.
This is something that I waited way too long in my career to heavily invest into relationships. I don't advise that you do it prematurely, but I do advise that you do it earlier than you're otherwise comfortable. Meaning, there are specific masterminds and specific events that cost more money than you are probably comfortable paying for an event or paying for a social network. Those rooms are full of people who are business owners, who are successful, where oftentimes service is being rendered, spiritual services being rendered, whether it's a coaching container, a consulting container, a retreat, is actually a business write-off for a business owner. And so this radically needs to shift what you think your services are worth. Because if I'm a founder of a 7 or 8 figure business and I'm stuck in my head, I'm stuck in my own way, and it's impacting my team and it's impacting my relationships, and I'm on the verge of losing everything in front of me, my business, my family. I'm not saying this is me in this moment. I'm saying but these are the types of problems that you specifically have services, skill sets, and experiences that solve. How big of a problem is that? If someone's on the verge of losing their 8-figure business, 8 figures is $10 million or above, do you think it might be worth $10,000? Do you think it might be worth $25,000? So all of a sudden, you are rendering the same exact service. It's just for a person where their time is more valuable. They're getting them the result in a shorter period of time is more valuable to them. And they're willing to pay a premium to get a result faster because they don't have the luxury of time. And so the faster that you can get into these rooms where people can stroke a $10,000 check, a $15,000 check, and it's either a business write-off, it's a business expense for their business, or it's just like a rounding error on their business's balance sheet. Those are the types of rooms where those people have tried everything. They've tried all of the logic. They've tried hiring the business coaches. They've tried logical strategy. And oftentimes you'll find people that are at a point where they're willing to try anything and everything, and they're definitely open to trying something new that they haven't tried before. They're willing to pay a premium for it. And so at the end of the day, that is the best place to get in touch with high net worth clients. I hope that was helpful.
And y'all, Michael runs one of such said events. So if you're ever here in Arizona, make sure to hit up Personal Brands.
Yeah, we run a couple different events. I'm a huge fan of live experiences as well, and we talk about a lot of these concepts. So if any of these things sounds interesting and you're already up and running and you have an offer that's getting some results, the event's called Brand and Business Breakthrough. You can find some more information on personalbrand.com. Our next one's coming up in May. Tickets aren't yet on sale, but keep that on your radar. Empress Eyes says another thing is visibility has been a huge challenge. Yeah, I'm interested in learning more about what visibility means to you. Man, like we were just talking about, we have a 3.5-day event. I could talk about this for 3.5 days. So much of visibility is showing up in ways that is showing up in ways that you can do consistently and repeatably. There's, especially with personal brands. If you ask 10 different people what a personal brand is, you get 10 different answers. And too many people conflate brand with branding and branding with content marketing. And they think that visibility or building a brand or building a business is all about going viral on social media. It's really easy to go viral on social media. You just have to be entertaining to the masses. And so if you're actually looking to build a business, if you're actually looking for clients and customers, one of the worst things you can do is just go viral to the masses, because the masses aren't interested in any of our products, right? Like, all of us are doing something that is designed for a specific type of person. If nothing else, someone that has an inclination to be a seeker, to want more out of life. And that is a very small percentage of the population. And so if we're showing up on social media to try to get more visibility and we're not getting viral videos, like our mission and soul calling and purpose on earth is to actually be helpful and useful, not just entertaining, right? And so we really need to detach ourselves from the volume or the vanity metrics of what visibility means. Most people think they need to have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers on social media before they have a personal brand. But this is where brand and branding get conflated, and especially branding to content marketing. Social media is just content marketing. There are so many people, and this is where, back at the beginning of the live, when I was talking about my background and how I'm just super grateful for being in the game for so long and seeing behind the scenes and, seeing people's trajectory over decade plus. There's so many people that have millions of followers online that are broke behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They have followers, they have views, they have comments, they have all the engagement in the world, but they are definitely not as successful as you think they are. I'm not talking about that as a lot of our past clients, they actually have businesses behind their brands, but I'm talking about like social influencers, like specifically people that are strictly social influencers. They're doing, like a lot of product placement stuff. I'm not suggesting that that's not a good direction to go. They're just not as successful as most people think they are. The most important point I'm trying to make here is that there are people that have followers, likes, engagement, and as soon as they stop posting, no one's talking about them. They're really good at content marketing and getting attention, but they actually have no brand. Branding is what you say about you, and brand is what the marketplace says about you. And so ultimately, what we want to do as practitioners is we want to build brand. And you can build brand one-on-one. You can build brand working with small groups of clients and going really, really deep. In fact, I think that's, especially in this new age, that's how you build brand. Because in the world where AI content, you can clone yourself, you can create endless amounts of content, you don't want to play that game. There are very few people now and into the future that are willing to do the hard work to develop skill sets, to hold spaces that can sit in the pocket with people to get them results. And that is a massive competitive advantage in the next 3 to 5 years. And so I would, to Empress Eyes, to your question about visibility, I would focus more on building brand, word of mouth, getting clients results, creating raving fans. And even if that starts off with 1 or 5 or 10, having 10 raving fans out there that are sending you referrals is way better than having 10,000 followers on social media with no one that's willing to buy. So hopefully that's a mindset shift where, ultimately as spiritual practitioners, the actual fastest path to growth is actually what we enjoy most, which is just helping people to the best of our abilities. And if we can just lean more into that strength and not think that it's just technology or social media or something that we're not good at that we have to do in order to be successful, it's so much of success is just leaning into your strengths and doing more of what you're good at and being more of what you're called to do, and success will come as a byproduct.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Sweet.
Let's go ahead and drop into these comments really quick, but just a little example on the raving fan side while Michael's checking the comments. I've had, I did the giving away a bunch of free sessions and seeing what would happen. And to this day, like literally earlier today, I had someone reach out to me just randomly and was like, hey, here's a testimonial for you. It was like 3 paragraphs long. She shot a video and it was absolutely awesome. I was like, what a pleasant surprise, right? But she was like, you've just helped so much. Like, I just needed to talk about it. And then more than that, introduced me to a bunch of people, like all sorts of things, right? It works. It really works if your stuff works and you're solving those right problems.
Yep.
So dropping into
Crystalline Light asked about our event. The dates are May 5th through 8th. It's that like first, I guess, full week. It's a Tuesday through Friday. Feel free to shoot me an email. It's just michael@personalbrand.com, michael@personalbrand.com. We're not yet selling tickets right this second, but happy to connect if you're interested.
On that note too, while you're checking that as well, go ahead and follow in the school community. I'll be posting a link for their event in there. So that way if you want any tickets, you can just grab them there. You can join the school community through the link in my bio.
Perfect. Yeah, that'll be easy. We'll make that happen.
And I'll be posting the recording of this on there too. So if you want to watch this back, don't worry, we're going to have a recording. I'm going to be building a doc as well, so that way we can implement a little bit easier what Michael is saying, and then maybe in the future, because we're all here together, he'll create some assets for the community as well. And that way we can really implement this. And thank you for the heart me, by the way. Who was it that just sent that? True North. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the heart me. All right, how are we looking in there?
Yeah, so Empress Eyes is saying it's not about virality, it's my purpose. It's deeper than that for you. Yeah. So much, so I can relate to this too. I bought the domain name personalbrand.com in 2013. And we shut down our agency at the end of 2019. And in 2024 is when we started things back up. And it was actually me going through a healing journey of my own that allowed me to do what I'm doing today. And last year, 2025, I crumbled in 2021. I buckled under 1/10 of the amount of responsibility and pressure that's on my plate now. And so as spiritual practitioners, your healing journey is so important for you to really fulfill your purpose in this life. For me, if you would have asked me, I thought I was good. Like, yeah, I'm good. Like, business is going well, could always be better, but I was in a comfortable place. And the prospects of putting myself out there and going from the person behind the personal brands to being the person, sharing my voice was something where like my nervous system would not allow me to do it. Like my nervous system had some things crosswired in it that no matter how much I wanted it, it didn't feel safe. And so, especially if you're struggling to put yourself out there, or if you're trying to get visibility, and like there's probably some type of nervous system like healing, regulation, where growth is not possible until growth feels safe. And logically, you know it's safe. Logically, you know that you want to share your voice and you want to help more people. But sometimes your body just can't handle it because your body is already tapped out. Your nervous system's already overstimulated, even when there might not even be a logical reason as to why it is. For me, just to like tell a little piece of my story, through a private retreat session, basically I had some wires crossed on it with an experience I had in my life where I went out of my way to do the right thing, to help someone in need. I over-communicated that where I was going, that it would only take 10 minutes. I went out of my way to over-communicate, and ultimately, because I broke a technicality of, this was when I was in college. I feel like I'm making it sound sketchier than it is. So when I was in college, I was an RA in the dorms. I was on duty, and one of the other RAs was a veteran, and he needed a ride home. This was before the Uber days. I was sober. He knew I was sober because I didn't drink until I was 26. So he calls me saying, "Hey man, I need a ride." And he was just like 5 minutes away. So I leave. I could have just gone to my car, got him, come back. No one would ever known. But I go to the front desk. I over-communicate. I say, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to get Nick. I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'll check in when I get back, just so you know that I'm back." So I go get Nick, come back, check in. No calls, nothing happened, everything's good. But because I left campus, the next day I get a call and I get fired 2 weeks before finals. And part of your package, part of your compensation package is a place to live. I'm no longer employed, so my benefits get taken away. I have to move 2 weeks before finals. I'm cramming for finals. And so I had all this wired up where when I do the right thing, when I over-communicate, when I go out of my way to do the right thing, I still am the person that has to pay the price. And so my mission, my purpose is out there, putting myself out there to go do the right thing, to help people. And even though I logically know all of the tools, the technology, the strategies, I have the contacts, I have the relationships, I still couldn't get over that hurdle of like doing the actions I know I needed to do to get what I actually wanted out of life. And so, oftentimes it's become more and more it's becoming more and more mainstream that even when you know what to do and you feel called to do it, there's this thing called a human body that we have to deal with. And everyone listening in on this live stream, you're uniquely qualified to help people reach their highest potential. And in order to do that to our highest capacities, we need to be our first patient. We need to go through the healing ourselves to the nth degree so that we can actually expand into all of the greatness that we know that we're meant to be here for.
Amazing response. Guys, show Michael some love. This is why we have him here on the live with us. But wonderful. So it's a lot of just like managing self and then getting comfortable there, and then that just naturally kind of blossoms into the world. And for those of you who are part of the school community as well, I'm going to be putting together a nervous system regulation course for spiritual healers, for people that are trying to put their offers out in the world, because I felt that too. So we'll be having support in that area too in the school community. But excellent.
Yeah, I think, especially in the spirituality community, like you have massive breakthroughs and, in your own journey. And especially after you move some of the big boulders out of the way, there's still some pretty big rocks that seem insignificant. And this is me from my own personal journey. Like I've been a student of personal development since I was 17. That's almost 2 decades. Like putting my butt in a seminar room, learning, reading all the books. Like I thought that I had it all figured out mentally. I didn't have it all figured out from an emotional and from a nervous system regulation standpoint. So I think my story is very common from a lot of successful entrepreneurs, because in business, logic and willpower and just pure effort is what helps you reach that initial level of success. And so going back to what we were saying earlier about how do you get into the room to working one-on-one with high net worth individuals, there's a gap between people that are probably seemingly quite successful compared to maybe other people in your circle, or maybe they've had some early success in business, but they still think that they just need to work harder and that their next level is just working harder. And oftentimes that's actually true. Like in order to go from $250,000 a year to $500,000, or from $1 million, or from $500,000 to $1 million, it probably is just some more hard work. But going from $1 million to 10 million, or 10 million to 100 million, like you cannot do that just from hard work. And so those are the rooms that I believe that being a spiritual practitioner is the avenue where a lot of people are looking for the services that you're providing, and they're open and willing to hear it because there isn't another way.
This is a really good thread. I want to tug on this, and then we're going to drop into some of these comments. So you mentioned a little bit ago about your 4 kind of P's, right? Or the 4 main areas that you're looking at. So problem aware, or like the problem specifically. Mm-hmm. So when you look at these like high net worth clients, how do they see these problems? Like they know that there's like, okay, like something's kind of off internally and I want to try and figure out how. How do they normally like talk about it? How do they normally approach it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, they still approach it very logically, because that's like the world that they were able to, reach their success. So it's still part of it, but I think they're just a lot more open to I'll say this, consciousness is rising on the planet. People have access to more information, and even if it's small pieces of information on lots of different topics. And so, especially with things like, medicine ceremonies, psychedelics being legalized in, Colorado, things of this nature, like people are more open to things that they would have never been open to 10 years ago. And so, how do they talk about it? Again, I think people are very aware of how they feel, but they don't often have words to articulate it. Like we know what pain feels like, but do we really or discomfort or frustration, but do we really spend our time talking about it? So that's our job. Our job is to have conversations with these people, learn how they talk about it, and really figure out what message resonates. Because like I said at the very beginning of this live stream, how do you learn how to talk to these people? It's by talking to these people. and how do you sell your services? It's by having a conversation with them to where they feel extremely seen and heard. And what our spiritual practitioner is the best at is holding space, of listening, of like helping facilitate some type of process. And so you can actually do that in every single conversation to, in a much smaller degree, but like just the aspect of someone being able to communicate and you listening to them and you asking clarifying questions makes them feel seen and heard. And there's very few people in the world that do just that. Like, it's way easier than everyone makes it out to be. Just doing what you enjoy doing, which is holding space for people, is actually your sales process.
Wow. Huh. So like literally just like, hey, super wealthy individual, like let's talk, let's chat. You get to know them, like, oh, that sounds like kind of an issue or a problem. Like, tell me more about it, right? And assuming they're open to it, they tell you more about it, and you're like, oh, I could solve that.
Yeah. And so with that conversation, this is really, really important. Because when you're in a conversation with someone that can clearly afford your services, your natural tendency is to try to have a conversation to get them to become a client. That's not the likelihood that that's going to happen is maybe 1 out of 10. The likelihood that you're going to get something of value that you can use in other conversations is 10 out of 10. And so there's just this reframe of the conversation of being completely detached from the outcome, knowing that the conversation in and of itself is valuable to you, and you're actually just digging for language to use. You're asking clarifying questions. You're asking, what other things have you tried in the past? And so the value of that conversation is the information that you're getting. And the funny part is that when you're detached from the outcome and you're really curious, and the person can actually feel that there's no desperation and there's no gotcha plan in the conversation, they're actually much more likely to buy from you. And so when you can reframe those conversations to the conversation in and of itself is a form of payment to you, condensing time frames, helping you really understand the pain points, helping you understand what other things your ideal client has tried in the past, what they might be considering now, what books they're reading. Like, these types of things are all data points that can really help create more persuasive conversations, more persuasive sales copy, more persuasive offers, more persuasive programs, and more effective programs, I should say, more effective programs that get results, the results that the people actually want. So to answer your question specifically, what words do you use for those people? It's just being human. It's having a conversation. It's being okay not knowing what words to use, but you learn. And how do you learn? You learn by talking to people. And maybe you don't have someone high net worth in your immediate vicinity. This is where referrals come in. And literally building relationships, asking for introductions where there is no sales pitch. There is no scarcity mindset around it. The number one thing that I say everything's like the number one thing because there's so many things that are the number one thing. So that's why I had to pause there because it is so important. But truly, if there was a number one thing, especially for spiritual practitioners, it's like, don't struggle unnecessarily. Like, there's so many times where we hear in our news feeds, you have to burn the boats. You have to go all in. If you have a plan B, you don't have a plan A. Or oftentimes maybe you go get your certification or some practitioner license and you quit your job because you're going all in on this. Building a business takes way longer than you expect. It takes more time, more money, more sweat, more tears, more pain. So be systematic about it. Don't struggle unnecessarily. Don't go all in prematurely. You need to have money to invest into your business. You need to have the space and the time to network yourself into higher end conversations where there's no money that's transacted. You need to have time to get some people results so that you get testimonials and build all of the ingredients. And so one of my favorite Tony Robbins quotes is that everyone overestimates what you can accomplish in a year, but underestimates what you can accomplish in a decade. And I think it's even something like people way overestimate what they can accomplish in 3 to 6 months, and way overestimate what they can accomplish in 3 to 6 months, but underestimate what you can accomplish in 3 years. And so if you create a 3-year game plan, where 3 years from now, you're going to have all of the ingredients. You're going to have the testimonials. You're going to have clarity on the offer. You're going to have you're going to have a beautiful website. You're going to have all these things in 3 years. It's much more manageable to build a systematic approach and take small steps than trying to think that you're going to have all of that in place in the next 3 to 6 months.
Awesome. Absolutely love that. Let's go ahead and take a little peek here at the comments, and then we are right at 5, so I want to respect your time. How are you doing on time?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. You going to go a little bit longer?
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
perfect. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, y'all drop some more questions in the chat, and we'll go ahead and start circling around to them. And by the way, Perspective, thank you for the heart me. I really, really appreciate that. But yeah, it's fascinating seeing like the compounding over time. Like, work, like I think reflect back a little bit on my own journey in this space. Like work that I did, 6 months ago is just kind of starting to pay off now. And work that I'm doing right now, I'm sure will pay off 6 months from now. You just have to stay in the game long enough to actually win it,
Yeah.
Anything coming in? Comments,
Peacock and Paisley asked, how did I learn my wires were crossed and why? I explained a little bit about that. How did I realize my wires were crossed? So, it was through working with a practitioner where they asked a specific set of questions in a specific order that helped me unpack it. Like, if you would have, first and foremost, I went into this ceremony holding space for my wife. I was there strictly out of her pursuing her healing and wanting to support her and be in the energy of her healing. And I got more out of it than I ever thought possible. Like, if you would have asked me to create a list of 10 things that I thought were holding me back, I don't even think I could have been forced to create a list of 10. But what came up in that session wouldn't have even made a top 10 list. It was something that was not even in my awareness. I didn't think about it, but that's exactly why it was holding me back, because it wasn't something that I was aware of. It was something so insignificant, so in my past, but it all makes sense because it was this heightened fight or flight, scarcity. I don't have a place to live. I have finals. I'm going to fail my finals. I have to study. I need to, I need to move out. I just lost my job. I got on the chopping block because I did the right thing. But I didn't have time to process any of that emotion. I just had to go and find a place to live and study and cram. And all of a sudden finals, now it's summer break and life's good. But all of that was wound up and crosswired because I didn't have a way to actually process that emotion. And so that was why the wires were crossed. And then the how was unpacked was working with a practitioner that knew what they were doing. And I'll be honest, spend a lot of money. It was a 5-hour guided session that was facilitated at a very high level that included multiple modalities, parts therapy, NLP, and some other things. So it was a very tightly held space, a very healing container, and those types of services, we paid a lot of money for that. We paid $5,000 or something like that for 5 hours, and we traveled. We spent money to travel. We rented an Airbnb. It was Natalie and I, and so these are things that every single person on this call. I'm not suggesting that you go start charging that next if you're just getting started, but people are willing to pay for that. People are wanting to reach their next level, and so that's hopefully motivating to people on the live.
Totally, yeah, and that's, hey guys, $5K for 5 hours, dude, sign me up, right?
Yeah. And to the facilitator's credit, he spent a lot of time doing research around holding space, around NLP, around parts therapy, around other modalities that were used in this ceremony. So it's there was other components to it. It wasn't someone who we wouldn't have hired that specific practitioner if they hadn't gotten results for dozens of other people, friends that we knew. It was all referral based. We met him at a high-end networking, high-end mastermind event. That's what I've been saying this entire life of getting people results, getting testimonials, working referrals, leaning into your strengths, leaning into serving people, leaning into just creating raving fans, getting results from people. That is the fastest way to build a business.
Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that. We got a couple more here.
Yeah.
How did your wife find that healer? Okay, so you just answered that.
Yeah. High Mastermind. They're leading a roundtable discussion.
There is one right here. Back to Roots message. It's great to learn from another perspective. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, you're so
Awesome.
welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. How to start, be a creator, and attract clients like this? Lifestyle is important. How do you build trust when you're a 23-year-old, sell high-ticket info products? So I guess kind of back on those same topics, back on those same talking points.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest piece is like you don't go, even though in 2020, everyone started selling high ticket, there were so many people that had no business selling high ticket. But there was just so much attention online that people, it was kind of like blind squirrel finds an acorn or whatever the thing is, right? You had people teaching people how to sell high ticket. Yes, high ticket is where you want to go, but first you got to build the skill set. First, you need to be like selling high ticket, especially in the early innings. This is actually something at Branded Business Breakthrough. Like I encourage people to sell a high ticket offer, but first you need to be confident that you can get someone a result. Like you know all of the edges of it. And how do you do that? Like you start smaller. You start working with people in a more limited capacity. I start, now at personalbrand.com, our base package in 2026 is $50,000.
Nice.
The first website I ever built was $200. I'm not suggesting that my path was the right way. It was a long, long path. You can definitely navigate faster than I can. But to relate to Ricardo, like I built my first website when I was 20 years old. So I did it for $200 because I knew that I wanted to learn how to build websites. I wanted to learn this online marketing thing. But if I knew that it was left just to me to kind of casually do it, that 6 months from now, like maybe I would know how to maybe build a website, maybe. But if someone paid me to do it, I would figure it out. And so I think you can take that same approach where, again, high ticket is kind of a relative term, but if you find someone who needs the services that you're able to render, have them pay for it. And you know that you're probably going to overextend yourself for that client. And this is what comes back to what I was talking about earlier. Don't suffer unnecessarily. Like when you're first starting your business, you should have another source of income. Regardless of where it is, like you can't take money from someone, especially in the early innings, and build a business when like, one, they're paying you less than you know that you're worth, but you're just getting started. Like you need to be able to invest in yourself by getting paid less to get someone a result, to start to build that word of mouth, to start to get testimonials, to get raving fans, to referrals. Like you have to start the engine in some way, shape, or form. And so if you look at that not as someone's paying less than you're worth, but it's actually you investing in yourself of the compensation for the delta there, like that's a big mindset shift that I wish more people would realize is that how do you build trust? You build trust by getting people results. Trust is generated. How much, let's just say a year from now, you've worked with 20 or 30 people over the next year. Even if it's at a reduced price point, how much more confident would you be in your ability to get people results having 20 or 30 people that you could pick up a phone and they would sing your praises? So trust is often something that is generated just from your level of confidence. Trust is generated by because you're so confident, you can have a guarantee saying, hey, if you hire me as a practitioner, as a coach for this 3, 6, 9 month container, we'll just call it 6 month container, and you show up on time to every single session, you show up on time to every single call, you do your homework, you fill out the worksheets, and you don't get the result, I will give you 100% money back guarantee. In fact, I will give you double your money back guarantee. So like that's where trust is generated. Trust is generated in the confidence that you have that your process, that your skill set gets a result, and you architect it in a way where if someone actually goes through the process and they do what they say they're going to do, and they show up and they don't reschedule meetings and they don't not do the work, it's impossible for them not to get the result. So that's where trust is generated, and that's kind of the evolution of the process.
So as we're like
building this, as we're growing our trust, and like we are perfectly kind of confident in that result, that's kind of when we start tiptoeing into the higher ticket or start charging higher ticket.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a little bit different. You know, maybe someone's been a therapist for 20 years and they're getting into coaching. Like, you probably have a network. You probably have past clients that you can probably start high ticket. But you have 2 decades of experience that back your ability to get results, and you're extremely. The difference between someone in that position versus someone, in college, recently graduated from college, or that age, is just confidence in your ability to get a result. And so that's the most important thing. Confidence is not that you know everything. It's just that you can figure it out. And the more that you can put yourself in a situation where you're getting paid more for overextending yourself, in the beginning, you're going to overextend yourself anyways, getting clients results. So especially if you can command a higher price point earlier on, it's much easier to overextend yourself for 1 or 2 clients at a higher price point than bringing on a bunch of 20 clients at a lower price point and having to overextend yourself for 20 clients. Don't do that. So the faster that you can charge more and be more involved. Everyone's trying to scale. Everyone's trying to create things that scale. Everyone's trying to create passive income. There's so much work that needs to be done before you're ever even remotely ready for scale or automation or passive income. It's not saying that those things aren't possible. There's just a lot of work before that becomes a reality. Because in the beginning, you don't know what to automate. You don't know what works. You don't know an offer that scales. And so how do you do that? You do it by doing the work, by getting your hands dirty, by doing a lot of things that don't scale, by experimenting and trying a bunch of different things so that ultimately you can start to see, oh, this is the thing that is going to scale. This is what I can productize. This is what I can package. This is how I can create some semi-passive income. You get to those realizations not by thinking them up in your laboratory alone. You do it through the process of working with people, of getting results for people. All that becomes clear when you take action.
Amazing wisdom. Absolutely amazing wisdom. Yeah, y'all, feel free to show some love for Michael here in the chat. We're going to take a little peek here at some of these comments, just make sure we're all caught up, and then we will have 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll round it out. So, recommend free work, building raving reviews, readjust price. Hi, friends. Hi, Aphrodite. Good to see you. Self-worth. Yes, Empress. I don't have a problem selling or talking. My one thing is transitioning on social media and topics.
One thing is transitioning on social media in topics. Help us explain that in a little bit different way. I'm not 100% clear on what you mean by that. Is it strictly just communicating your message on social media, or that's kind of how I interpret it? Just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
Yep. Okay. I used to
Speak about relationships. Oh, okay. So you used to be about relationships and you're wanting to shift topics?
Or even just representing better on social media.
Okay.
So Michael, you're saying when it comes to NSR, did you only do 5 hours one time or multiple?
Yeah, it was one time. I don't know how much detail we can get on a live stream about specific things, but yeah, it was. There were other modalities that came into play. Like, I'm super, straight edge. Didn't drink until I was 26, but it was one of those things where that was the type of experience that I needed to have in order. It needed to be tightly held. It needed to be private. It's not this big, huge ceremony with a bunch of random people that I don't know calling on random spirits and it needed to be something that was very bespoke, very safe, very non-confronting, very intimate, very private. People will pay top dollar for that. Especially high net worth people, especially big wig corporate people. They have a public persona and reputation to uphold. They're not oftentimes people think that you have to hold these big retreats and you have to pack out breathwork classes with 50 people. It's like high net worth people, like they want you to come to them. They have a whole room in their house dedicated for this stuff that never gets used. Like you don't need space. You can charge just as much money as a 50-person breathwork class for a private session, and like you just show up at their house and do it, right? Like so there's like a whole different like shift where more isn't always better, that there's actually like privacy, discretion, convenience. Like these are all things that high net worth people value and are willing to pay a premium for. I just saw this the other day, kind of a tangent, but we're driving down Scottsdale Road here in Scottsdale, and there was this mobile van that said emergency haircuts. And I don't know if you're like me, but I'm like,
cool.
I always need like a haircut tomorrow. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. It had a QR code on the side of the van. So we're at a stoplight, red light. And so I get my phone out and I scan the QR code, and I'm just kind of like sussing out. They had a really pretty website. It was $250 for a dang haircut.
Wow.
Now, I'm like that type of person where I think $50 is steep for a haircut, you
Yeah,
know?
I feel
I'm
that.
like, dang. But like, again, I'm not their target market. Like, it's people that like $250 is just like a cheeseburger to them, you know, or something, right? Where like, I'm not quite at that level yet. But like, there are people that convenience, discretion, like coming to them, like they value their time. They don't want to go drive 30 minutes to the barber shop, sit there and wait for 15 minutes to get their hair cut, to then have to drive back 30 minutes. Like their time is way more valuable than the $250. And so this seems like a very foreign concept to a lot of us, even to me. Like I'm not willing to do that trade, but that doesn't mean that other people aren't. And so again, I'm telling that as a very specific example of a business that's out there. And again, I don't know how well they're doing. It appeared to be doing well. Had a brand new, awesome van. The website was nice. So again, optics aren't everything, but I told that story to demonstrate the point that how we make buying decisions is not how everyone makes buying decisions. What motivates us, what demotivates us is not what motivates and demotivates other people. And the more that you can put yourself out there just to have conversations, conversations are brand building. I would say that if you could have 50 conversations every single week where you're genuinely curious about the other person, regardless of whether or not you actually have an opportunity to communicate what you do, that's a more effective brand building strategy than trying to go viral on social media.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I've never, I think that like that's alpha right there. Like I've never
Yeah.
said that before, but I mean, it's true though. It's like, especially if social media doesn't give you energy, if it doesn't give you energy to create social media content, lean into your strengths. If you like conversing with people, if you like helping people, like that's the avenue for growth. So
That's beautiful. Love that. Alpha as fuck too. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at this. Let's see. I'm part of the school too. Perfect. Queen Bee, very happy to have you there. Wow, we got quite a few that came in. Let's see. So speaking to the existing followers, I have over 218K followers on Insta, 94K. I speak a lot about the divine feminine, and that's what I can continue to discuss, but now I have so much about what's to come, leadership, matriarchy, etc. I want to work with men too. Can't wait for all this to get sorted. It'd be too cool. I'm so excited to be making this kind of money. I'm surprised privacy isn't just a given, honestly. Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, I mean, again, privacy meaning like they're not going to show up to some type of spiritual retreat where there's 50 other people, just because like if it got out in the news media that some person was there, that the PR backlash of that isn't worth the risk. So I'm not suggesting that like there's that privacy isn't kind of given, but there's just things where even if it's not probable, it's a non-zero chance. And so there's specific people that won't even take the chance, even if it's not probable. There's still a non-zero chance that it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to spend the $50 to go to this breathwork class, or spend $5,000 to go to this Tulum retreat with 30 other people. It's just like, no, they all whatever 30 times 5, it's 150. Like there are people that would literally make the buying decision to not spend $5,000 to go to Tulum with 30 other people, and they would spend $150,000 to have you come to their house and do a private retreat for 3 days. Like
Wow,
Like,
that's insane. Yeah.
it's insane. Would I do that? No. But there are people that like, this sounds crazy, especially when, like, and I'm saying this because I'm in the process of my own realizations around this, right? There are people out there where $150,000 to them is like $100 to us, or $1,000 to us, right? And so, like, the difference between $500 and $1,000 to us is the difference between 75,000 or 150,000, right? Like there's just astronomical numbers where these people are human. They still have the same challenges that we have. They don't have it all figured out. And I would venture to say on the spiritual side of things is probably where they need the most support. And so I'm not suggesting that these people are easy to find, but it is important to have an offer at the ready when you have someone like this. It is thought through. It is ready to be communicated. That you render a service that is a $100,000 offer, and it might not be a 3-day thing like I just hyperbolically stated, but it's a year-long spiritual mentorship container for $100,000. Do you have that? If you're a spiritual practitioner, do you have that offer ready to rock? Do you have the credibility, the testimonials, people that are raving fans of yours, to where obviously if someone's spending $100,000, they're probably having their assistant dial some references, right? So again, I'm not suggesting that you need to have this tomorrow, but this is definitely something that over the next 3 years, like we talked about before, people way overestimate what they can accomplish in 6 months, but underestimate what they can accomplish in 3 years. In 3 years, are you taking the actions to build the building blocks so that 3 years from now you have a $100,000 offer that gets your first client? So again, it's not about making that jump overnight, but it's about a progression of getting the ingredients on the table, getting your confidence up, getting your predictable and repeatable process, getting client testimonials, building out the different aspects of your branding and your brand so that 3 years from now, you can work with some really high profile people. It doesn't happen overnight, but it can definitely happen faster than you think it does.
Bars. We'll take a quick peek at the chat, and then I'm going to look and see if there's anything else that we missed. Although this has been great. It's been very great.
So yeah, I know that we were kind of reading Queen Bee's question. She's talking about how divine feminine, but she wants to talk about leadership and all these different concepts.
She
So
charges a lot as well. She said
Yeah.
she's charging like $1,500.
awesome,
Like that.
so cool.
Yeah.
These are I love these challenges. Our team eats these types of things up. What I would say is that actually one of our mutual friends and one of our personal brand clients, Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, is in a very similar dynamic where he himself, his personal passions have outgrown his 7-figure business. And so obviously there's a much longer conversation to have, but oftentimes we either find a through line between all of those pieces that are of interest to you, like what is the commonality between all of them, and we create a cohesive message where all of those different things are logical, or you clearly have something going really, really well. And again, I don't know how you quite have this positioned as far as whether all of it's under your personal brand or whether it's a separate business entity. In Anthony's case, he has a YouTube channel called Fit Father Project. He helps men over 40 reclaim vitality, lose weight, get in shape, reset their metabolic function. Very tight demographic, but it's very focused on getting in shape, weight loss, nutrition, and he's a naturopathic doctor on the forefront of human longevity, and like he reads all those like really long nerdy reports that come out, like he's the dude that reads all those things and like translates those to actually helping people. And so what we were able to do is he has Fit Father Project, which is a YouTube channel and has its products and services and live event and everything over here. We're able to elevate his personal brand above that, so you don't disrupt the momentum that you already have. You actually elevate it to the next step, where the first step is what you're currently doing, but there's a whole nother level of leadership and of spirituality or in your case, sounds like you're working with women, but you also want to work with men. So you can, anyways, there's always an answer to the question. It's definitely a hard format to give you specifics. But the two different ways to think about it are one, either finding the through line, or two, how can you elevate your personal brand above what you're currently doing so that you don't create confusion down here, but you can create your personal brand to kind of be that next level of things. If you go to my personal brand website, it's michaelrhunter.com. I do a good job of this because I run a software company, Spiffy. We have the personalbrand.com agency. I'm actually launching a podcast this week. We have a mastermind. Like, I have all these different things that are kind of sort of, serving different audiences. But me at my core, my passion is sparking and inspiring entrepreneurship, helping people level up in their life by creating businesses and being entrepreneurs and creating sound business strategies that get people results. And so that's the through line through everything that I do. And that's my positioning statement. And so you can go to my website, my personal brand website, and you can see all of the things that I'm doing as separate individual brands, and it puts it in a cohesive container versus like trying to communicate all of that through personalbrand.com. Then that's when it kind of has the appearance of, oh, like, what is this personal brand thing? Like, they got this podcast and a mastermind, agency services, and they got all these different things. Oh, it must not be good at any one of them, jack of all trades, master of none. But I forget the extension of that quote. Do you remember the extension of that quote?
Jack of all trades, master of none, but usually better than a master of one. Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
You did a better job than I would have, so thank you. Thank you. It's something to that effect of, jack of all trades, master of none, but jack of all trade, but it's better than a master of one. So basically, what I was trying to get at is that phrase. Okay, go ahead. You got it?
Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the common cliche phrase is that being a jack of all trades is a bad thing. But actually the full quote is saying that being a jack of all trades is a good thing, which is kind of interesting. But when it comes to branding and brand, going back to what we were talking about earlier in the live, branding is what you say about you and brand is what your customers say about you. When you present yourself as doing a lot of different things and you don't spoon feed your ideal client the powerful and concise messaging that's the through line through all of it, you leave your brand up to the interpretation of other people. So especially if you're doing a lot of things, you have to be very intentional with communicating, with spoon feeding people the concise language, the concise through line as to how all of those things are relevant so that they can repeat it. That concise through line is your brand positioning. Your brand positioning needs to be memorable, powerful, and repeatable so that your branding and how you talk about you and your brand, how customers talk about you, are actually the same thing. When you don't do that work to get down to your brand strategy and your brand positioning, and you're just doing a lot of these different things, every single person knows you as something slightly different. Therefore, they're going out there with their own slightly inaccurate interpretation, communicating their slightly inaccurate communication to someone who has even further slightly inaccurate understanding of that communication. And it's like 7 lines of telephone going out into the universe, and you're getting all these random referrals of people that aren't really ideal fit clients. That's how that happens. And so the more that you can, especially if you are a multi-passionate individual like I am, or you're like helping people in a lot of different ways, you have to be very, very clear with simplifying your messaging, simplify your positioning so that you can actually have an army of people out there talking about you in a powerful way that's actually generating more business back to you that is the business that you want. Hopefully that made sense.
Amazing reply. And I feel you on the, as you're checking the comments, I feel you on the having like a multi-passionate side of you. Like when I think about even just this channel, just this page, like there's serving other spiritual business owners, content like this, right, where we're actively chatting with you all. And then there's the side of me that is the active healer, going and doing stuff and like coaching with people. And so blending those two together, really cool way of doing it. Let's check these. How are we looking here?
So back to roots. How do you brand for the whole family with African spirituality? Even people are still skeptical. I don't know what you mean by whole family. How do you brand for the whole family. Oh, okay. I think you're trying to appeal to like rendering services to a whole family. The way that I think about these types of things are like who is the ideal client and who is the ideal customer. Oftentimes they're the same person. Sometimes they're different. So like again, if you are, I don't know, this is a bad example, but if you're running like a youth basketball summer camp, the customer is the parent, but the actual, person that you're designing the experience for is the kid. The kid's not doing the transaction, the parent is. So you have to design your marketing messaging to appeal to the parents, but then facilitate the actual service for the person who's not the buyer. Does that make sense? So it's an interesting situation here, but I'm assuming that you have a massage practice and you're trying to build a brand for the whole family.
He's got African spirituality practice.
African spirituality practice? Okay.
So skeptical people that are like, looks like there's some sort of interest in it, but people can be skeptical with it.
Yeah. So the answer in instances like this is always having conversations with people. That is the number one thing that most people try to avoid, especially building online businesses, is thinking that you can just like hide behind your keyboard and launch some ads and offer and just like make money and never have to talk to anyone. That can work for a very short period of time until it doesn't work. The faster that you can just get used to having conversations with people, and the people who are much more likely to have a conversation with you are your existing customers. I heard this question many years ago. I most recently heard it from a gentleman named Alex Moscow, which was mutual connection of ours. Is asking your customer. Oftentimes, like we do all the work to like do the marketing to land the customer, and like we're so pumped, we got a customer. Like, all right, straight into services. One of the most powerful questions you can ask each and every customer, client, patient: what made you almost not buy? What made you almost not buy? You bought. I'm grateful, like super pumped, and through my entire process, like before they made a buying decision, they had a conversation in their head. They almost didn't buy. Because all of us, with everything we buy, we almost don't buy it, right? And so like that is like marketing gold. That is, and like really understanding what is the skepticism, where is it coming from, and how can you? Earlier in the live, we were talking about conversation maps and not making too much of a logical jump. Like how can you meet people where they're at and guide them through a conversation that allows them to be more receptive to something that might be new and different to them. So oftentimes we're jumping straight too fast to what it is and trying to explain what it is, and people there's too much of a gap there where people going from where they're at, from their level of awareness to what you do there's too much of an understanding where oftentimes like the natural tendency is to be like, oh, like, well, people are skeptical of me and there's something wrong with me. No one wants to feel stupid. And so that's really what it's coming down to is there's too much of a logical jump of a new experience or something they don't know anything about, to where like most of the time, instead of people kind of asking some clarifying questions or being curious, they don't want to ask a stupid question. They don't want to come off as incompetent. They don't want to ask a question that might actually be offensive. And so the more that you can answer those questions or have those answers on your website, like, hey, here are the top 20 questions that we get, where people can go through that without having to ask those questions to a person and risk offending someone, or, and again, it's not even that the question would be offensive, it's just their perception that they might offend someone, or they might not know, or they might feel stupid, right? Like, obviously, I'm assuming you're holding amazing space and like you would answer anyone's questions all day long. But that's not the problem. The problem isn't you. You're rendering a service. You're there to help people. It's the perception that other people have, and how can we disarm that, or how can we reduce that friction in helping people understand what you do, who you are, how you help, and why it's something that's impactful. So, conversations. How can you meet people where they're at? How can you guide people to understand more about what you're up to in a way where they don't have to risk feeling stupid or whatever is holding them back. And again, that's just me kind of like feeling into the dynamic there. I might be completely wrong. That was just like one example. But through those conversations, you'll learn what's holding people back. What is it? Like, are people skeptical, or is it really just like insecurity on their end, right? So I'm not saying that that is the answer. That's probably directionally correct. And how you actually get down to solving that problem is just having more conversations with people and really just saying, hey, like, in your honest opinion, like, don't be afraid of offending me. Don't be afraid of saying the wrong thing. Don't be afraid of asking a silly question or offending me. Like, why didn't you almost buy? Or why are you skeptical if it's someone in the sales process? Just like have them vocalize it to the best of their ability and kind of really create that safe space for them.
Magnificent. Let's go ahead and take a little peek, because I did see that he clarified again. Where and how can we get in touch with you, says Queen Bee. So we will have his contact info, personal brand, all of it on the recording in school. So feel free to drop in there if you haven't already. So correct, many parents come into my practice and will get results for their kids too. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. Will I be able to see this on school? Yes, you will be able to see this on school.
Yeah, and so with that angle of parents to kids, even you kind of want to have like your marketing really go towards the person that you can get a result for, that's willing to pay, and then through that experience, as or after you get them a result, you then let them know that you have services are geared towards families or services are geared towards youth. So it's so much, it's lifetime value in a business. We actually have stats in Spiffy. We just did our 2026 Creator Trends report, and when you get results for clients, trust compounds. And when trust compounds, people come back. And when people come back, they spend more than they would otherwise. And so rather than trying to like get them to buy the family package on the first time, like you want to get them in the door in a package that they're comfortable with, and then get that person a result. And then that person is much more likely to come back. And when they come back, they're going to spend more. And so I would say that a lot of your brand and your messaging should be really focused around the decision maker of making those family decisions. And yes, you have family services, but I wouldn't try to appeal to that from the get-go.
We got a couple thank yous here. Lisa says, thank you both for this live, much appreciated. And then Queen Bee also says, thank you both, valuable advice, lessons learned.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're happy that you guys are liking this. Michael is literally awesome. So
this is fun.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I love talking about this stuff. I talk about this all day, every day. So I'm glad that I've been able to say some things that are useful and helpful. I mean, I think the biggest, if I had to distill everything down, I know we've said it a couple times in the live, so if I say it more than once, it's important. All of our next levels of growth, mine included, are really just leaning into our strengths more. It's really, you've been through our live event, Branded Business Breakthrough. We've codified the 4 different stages of a thought leadership, of a healer, of a creator business. And so much of the overwhelm and stress and anxiety and self-doubt comes from us trying to implement what I call stage 4 strategies when we're at stage 1, 2, and 3. And we see all the entrepreneurial advice coming down our news feeds on TikTok and Instagram. Where people are like, oh, you need to be posting on social media 17 times a day between 5 different platforms. Burn the boats. Like, post on social media. Just do it. Just hit record. Just post. And yes, if social media lights you up, if creation and creating social media content gives you energy, then do it. However, if social media content, like for me, creating content on social media does not give me energy. Like this type of stuff gives me energy. I love having, I can have conversations all day long. And so this is how, I enjoy creating social media content is through conversations. So long story short, posting 17 times a day across 5 platforms is a stage 4 strategy. When you're at stage 1, 2, and 3, you cannot implement that strategy. The right strategy, a sound strategy, a great strategy, implemented at the wrong time is still the wrong strategy. And so there's this concept of timing and sequencing that is critically important. And when you're at stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 3, so much of the advice out there is really what's working right now for these big name influencers and speakers, but we can't look at what they're doing right now. We have to look at how they got started and take insights from how they got started so that we can get our initial traction, so that we can eventually get to where those strategies are the next best step. So if there's one thing I can leave you with, is it's lean into your strengths. Do more of what gives you energy. Don't worry about trying to automate and scale. And ultimately, especially healers, people in the spiritual modality, people that are getting humans personal transformations, energetics, nervous system. Like if you are building a business right now and you're building brand, you're probably 3 to 5 years too early, but this is when you want to be putting in the effort. AI is, disruptive, but at the end of the day, humans are humans, and humans are going to be experiencing human things. And spiritual practitioners are one thing I don't think AI is going to do anytime soon is become a spiritual mentor in some way, shape, or form, because so much of spirituality and healing is experiential. Us as humans need to experience it, and if you can help humans create that experience or guide people through that experience, it's going to be the most powerful and most valuable skill set. And so especially if you can spend the next 3 to 5 years, the next decade of your life becoming world-class, and getting people results and over-indexing for getting people results, that's how you win in this new era.
Bars. Absolutely love that. Now, a couple more comments coming in here. I saw Cole and Empress both said thank you. They're both OGs of this channel. So thank you guys both for being here. I really appreciate you both. And I hope that, I know we haven't read everyone's questions or comments, especially for you two, so I'm sorry about that. But thank you guys for both being here. And with spirituality and with technology, it's actually very fascinating. Even if someone uses technology to get a spiritual results, spirituality very oftentimes leads you to wanting to connect with people anyway, and being in community and having that human touch. So even if there is technology in spirituality, it always leads back to a practitioner in one way, shape, or form, right? You commune with the spirits as a human with the practitioner, right? So we got some good job security, but it will take time to develop our space.
For sure.
So
the self-carapist therapist said this guy knows his stuff. Thank you, self-carapist therapist.
That's fun. All right. So
that's one of our friends. That's funny.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I want to package my spell service to high earners, cleansing, road opening, business, etc. And I saw she said another one.
Yeah, someone said something that you're clear on who you want to work with, but not pricing and some other things like that. So much of it is, it's impossible to have 100% clarity before you take action. So the more imperfect action is how you actually get more clarity. So you take imperfect action, you go out there, you get some feedback. I'm a huge fan of feedback loops, feedback loops. Become a scientist in your approach to how you operate your business. Everything is a test. Oftentimes, we treat our business and the services we want to render as too much of a part of who we are. We're giving our heart, we're putting our heart on the line, and if someone rejects that, we take it personally. But if we actually kind of, be sovereign over our energy and don't put our heart on the chopping block. And we actually treat it like an experiment where we don't know what the outcome is. And even when we know, like, hey, like, this isn't even my ideal client, but they're willing to pay for it, I need someone to test out this new concept. Like, I have time, let's experiment. You know, like that level of approach is highly, highly helpful and beneficial. Now, is that what I just described? Is that the recipe for success in business long term? No. But if you're at that stage where you need to experiment, do it for a very short period of time, very intentionally, and recognize that there is value in condensing timelines with actual feedback. So, you know, you can spend the next 6 months trying to figure out the best pricing and try to figure out the best package, this and that or the other thing, or you can just create an offer, get someone to pay you, and you know, ultimately get feedback on where your program, your services need to be reinforced, what things went well, and that is much more of an effective approach. Take imperfect action. It's through imperfect action that you get less imperfect action, which means more slightly perfect action, right? So, you know, it's everyone's natural tendency when starting off in business to try to get the perfect idea before you start to execute. Success in business is not about having the perfect idea. It's having the idea that you can execute perfectly. And oftentimes that's much more simple than you think it is. And the more simple that you can make something, the easier it is to actually build something that's sustainable. I would say that oftentimes it's easier to charge a lot more money earlier on. It's easier to charge more money earlier on solving a really complex problem. And I learned, now this is part of my story, like we charge a lot of money because we could solve really complex problems, but it's almost impossible to scale those types of things. And so if you are charging a lot of money to solve complex problems, it needs to be for a season of your life so you can intimately know those problems so you can create a more simple solution. So you don't want to build an entire business based off of solving super complex problems or going like really, 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 really deep. Do that to make some short-term money, to make cash short-term, but also do it as a scientist, as an experiment, to learn the ins and outs so you can create a more basic solution that gets the 80-20s, that gets 80% of the results with much, much less effort. So if you're going to go deep, if you're going to solve really complex problems, if you're going to the nth degree, do it for short-term cash, charge a lot of money for it, and do it so that you can create a much more simple solution.
Bars. Also, I appreciate that, Queen Bee. Thank you for encouraging others to like. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for all of your engagement. So awesome having everyone here. We got almost 13,000 hearts. Let's go.
We love that.
I'm sure half of those were Queen Bee. Queen Bee, thank you.
And we got Miss Daphne Gray on here as well, the AI doula.
Daphne Gray, what's up? How's it going, girl?
And then back to Roots, had to hop off already, but he says love from Holland. So
Oh,
we have a
wow.
friend from Holland here.
Got international.
Yeah.
International.
But guys, we're coming up here at the top of the hour, so we're gonna wrap it up, and Michael's got to get to Michael business.
Yeah, I got a phone call here in 9 minutes, but yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us. I know some of you went the distance with us. Yeah, definitely let Jonathan know if this information was helpful. I don't know why I just called you Jonathan. That's my business partner. His name Jacob. Jeez, Jonathan's my business partner in personal brand agency. They both start with a J.
Jonathan's
They both
cool.
have beards. They both have beards too.
We're gonna talk to Jonathan too, by the way.
Oh, nice, awesome.
So, yeah.
Sorry, Jacob.
It's okay.
Freudian slip. It's been a long day. Jacob, thanks so much for having me. Definitely let Jacob know if this was useful. If you have any other questions, we'll drop some of my contact information in there. I'm mainly on Instagram as my main platform, at Michael R. Hunter, if anyone wants to follow me over there. I'm launching my podcast this week, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, this was super fun. Thank you for all the questions, really thoughtful questions. really excited for those of you that are really early in your careers and just getting started. Hopefully I said something that can help move past some resistance or help create clarity moving forward. And for those of you that are already crushing it, listening in, and more established, again, hopefully, again, I said something that helped provide just a little bit more clarity that you can take more aligned action to get even better results moving forward.
Perfect. Absolutely brilliant.
Awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and I know like everyone here has really, really appreciated it. So thank you. Like you're offering so much value to a community I think is genuinely very underserved.
Oh,
You've had a huge impact here, and I'm very much looking forward to. We'll be putting the recording in our school community. I'll include all of your socials on there, so they'll be way easier to reach out to you. Go to BBB, his events. It's awesome. I went there. It was absolutely amazing. Like it was great. So much value in such little time, and like great people, a great community. Like it's awesome. So when ticket sales are up, I'll throw them in the community as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get a promo code, discount code, all that good stuff for your community, Jacob. And yeah, like we're doing something special at BBB. We're bringing 3 concepts together that I think cannot be discussed separate. And it's brand, business, and being, identity, your next level. As we're talking about, quite a bit of the conversation today, you can spend all the time, energy, and effort dialing in your brand, dialing in the right business model. But if you yourself, if your nervous system is resisting your next level of growth, your next level of being seen, of being heard, of wealth, responsibility, leadership, then you can have the perfect brand, you can have the perfect business model, but we'll naturally, as humans, hesitate, self-sabotage, and delay. And that was my story. So I've realized how critical those 3 components are, and that's what we talk about at our live event. So we'd love to have some people from your community the next one, and we'll make it as easy as possible for everyone to get there.
Perfect.
Cool.
Sweet.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys for
See you
being
guys.
here.
Thanks
Really
so much.
Appreciate you all. Poised. I appreciate that heart puff. All right. See y'all later.
Bye. Bam.
Damn, bro.
Got
Crushed.
14.8.
Yeah.
It's the most likes I've ever gotten. That was fun.
It made 40 cents.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
It's better than 0.
No, literally. That was
That's
good.
cool.
That's good. Let's see. We got a new follower. We got 489 viewers.
Wow.
Yeah, there's our metrics. And then, as we chop it up and continue out, like it'll be great, but
So that sounded like average live duration was an hour? Or what does
no,
that mean?
we were hour
Oh,
50.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but for TikTok it says that 191 comments.
Dang.
Almost 15K likes, which
Yeah.
is really solid. Very,
Sweet.
very solid. Yeah, dude. Thank you so much. Seriously.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll do this anytime. Obviously, like, do your rounds and whatnot, but we can have this be a biannual thing or however often.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm very much pouring into this community, very much just like this is a very underserved niche, like very underserved. And so conversations like this, they don't understand business, but
Right.
they have such a pure heart. They want to be out there in the world helping. And so, yeah, everyone in there I know needed this because I did a poll beforehand to see where everyone was at in their business. And like most of them are new. Some of them are established, but I would say 60% of them, 70% of them are new.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I love it.